All right, random video incoming. Random video incoming. Are you ready? I'm going to do a little MMA talk. Yep, it's that much in the NBA offseason that I'm going to do MMA talk. Now, look, let me tell you, any of you MMA guys, I know you're a prickly bunch, and let me tell you, I don't know anything, zero, about MMA or jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts or UFC, nothing. I know a little bit. But I think I can offer kind of an interesting perspective from an outsider, a complete total casual who kind of pays attention. I'll watch the big fights. I know the big names. I watched this, the Khamzat versus Dricus fight, and I don't know. I guess I'm some sort of MMA purist, because what I'm seeing amongst the MMA crowd is that there's this whole narrative out there that, well, Khamzat's style, specifically in that fight against Dricus over the weekend, was boring. It was too much wrestling. People don't want to see that. People want to be entertained and all this kind of stuff. My complete total casual MMA self that doesn't know a damn thing about any of that, I gotta be honest, I was watching that Khamzat fight against Dricus, and I was completely fascinated and compelled by that whole fight. Maybe not entertained, but I don't really tune into UFC to be entertained. I'm more genuinely fascinated and compelled and interested at what those guys and girls, like those the UFC women, holy shit, they are total badasses too. Any of those people that do that stuff, it's fascinating, and my hat is off to you, because your boy's in pretty good shape. I'm 38. I stay in good shape for someone who's getting up there. Your boy can crank out 20 pull-ups and 70 push-ups and go run a 5-minute mile. I eat right. I've always trained and all that stuff. So I'm really interested in the training aspect of these UFC guys and how good a shape they get in. And, I can really appreciate it. If I'm off base here, please feel free to chime in and kill me in the comments. It's fine. It's fine. But I don't know. It's called mixed martial arts, right? So whatever you happen to be good at, whether it's a ground game, wrestling, grappling, boxing, kickboxing, whatever. Maybe guys are better at knocking out guys. Maybe guys are better at, the long game and having good stamina. Whatever you're good at, that's what you're going to lean into, right? Especially if you're going up against an opponent that might not be good at a certain aspect of MMA. You're going to prey upon that. This Dricus guy, big guy, muscular guy, I know he's a very good fighter, very, very good. And I have a lot of respect for him. But something about him is just like, I don't know, a little dopey. Something. I'm sorry, Dricus fans will come across this, but like something about, I don't know if it's his body language. Even during that fight, I was like, what's this guy doing? Like, is he gonna make adjustments? Is his camp, his coaches gonna make adjustments? Because he doesn't seem to have any answer as to what Khamzat is doing. Because you know what's coming. Like, after the second round, you know what's coming. And I guess that was Khamzat's plan, is to just take him down every time. And from a casual watching this, to me, it's just mind-blowing, entertaining, and fascinating to me how amazing Khamzat is at, within 15, 20, 30 seconds every single round, boom, immediately gets this guy onto the ground and keeps him there. And Dricus has just no answers. That to me is entertaining. But I guess, I don't know, I guess UFC people don't really want to see that. I'm not really sure. But like, you shouldn't be mad at Khamzat for being very good at something that his opponent isn't good at. It's strategy, right? Isn't that strategy? It's like, you're not going to get mad at I'm an NBA guy, obviously, you can tell from my dopey channel here. It's like being mad at Steph Curry for shooting too many three-pointers. Like, come on, what are we doing here? Like, Khamzat is very good at a ground game. Dricus, I guess isn't. So he's going to prey upon that. And from Dricus's perspective, I'm thinking to myself, like, did you guys watch tape of Khamzat? Like, did you ever see him fight? Because they didn't seem very prepared. I've seen some Khamzat fights. I've seen highlights and all that stuff. I'm an idiot when it comes to MMA. And I even know Khamzat and any of those guys from Chechnya and Dagestan and that southern Russia area of those the Caucasus, Caucasian, whatever mountains, those tough as hell mountain people, they're very, very good at wrestling. Why weren't you prepared for that? Why weren't you prepared for that? What are you doing? You should have studied tape and maybe, I don't know, there's some kind of tell that Khamzat gives every time that he is going to take somebody down to the ground. Maybe he lowers his eyes, he lowers his shoulders, he lowers his chin. So you can be prepared for that and have in that split second some kind of counter to absorb that or retaliate or stay on your feet or something. But he didn't seem to be remotely prepared for that. So I think Khamzat bringing Dricus to the grounds every round, don't get mad at Khamzat, get mad at Dricus for allowing Khamzat to do that to him. Because if you go back and watch the Gilbert Burns fight, which, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm pretty sure that Gilbert Burns fight was the closest that Khamzat came to losing. Now, a lot of that, from what I remember, Khamzat came out way too fast paced and didn't pace himself and kind of gassed himself out a little too early. I think he didn't really listen to his coach's strategy. There was a whole story about that. But go back and watch that fight, man. Gilbert Burns is unbelievable. And they were on their feet a lot of that fight. And I think a lot of that was because Khamzat knew that Gilbert was a 3-time, 4-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion and had a very, very good ground game.
But when I took him down, he tried to took armbar something. I was like, yeah, no, I don't like that shit.
And their body types are very different. This is when Khamzat was fighting welterweight. Gilbert is 4 inches shorter. And Gilbert, if you look at his physique, I mean, that guy is a tank. I mean, he's 5'10", 170, and built like a tank and has that very low center of gravity, very, very strong, very, very good ground game. Whereas, Khamzat was 6'2", 170, and his ground game against him, I guess, wasn't really as effective, so they kind of stayed more on their feet that game. Whereas with Dricus, Khamzat and his team probably just used that as a strategy, and they're like, let's try it first round, see if you can get him down on the ground. And he did, and then they just did it over and over and over and over and over again, all 5 rounds. And I don't know, I found it to be very interesting and compelling. I mean, just the fact that he got him in those crucifix positions over and over again. And once again, I'm an idiot. I'm a casual. I had never heard of the crucifix position going into this. Yet I'm watching it, and I'm fascinated by it. Yet then I go on Twitter after, and then all these UFC people are complaining about it. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But I don't know. I think there's a lot of, and this happens with basketball, there's a lot of really low IQ people that are into sports that just want mindless entertainment. Like in basketball, you have people out there that think Jokic is boring to watch. If you think Jokic is a boring basketball player to watch, then you're not a serious person and you don't know basketball. And that might apply to that particular fight between Khamzat and Dricus. If you were bored during that fight, maybe you're just watching UFC for the wrong reasons. You just want to be entertained instead of being into the more technical aspect of fighting and mixed martial arts. Because I'm into more the technical stuff, the training, seeing how those guys get into that kind of shape. And I'm not that into the mindless entertainment part, the walkouts and the music and the lights and the yelling and Bruce Buffer screaming at everybody. I mute all that stuff, to be honest. I don't pay attention to any of that. I will watch only the fights. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And just so you know, just a reminder, I'm going to reiterate this. I am very much I'm barely a casual. I'm probably not even a casual. I'm like a bystander of UFC stuff. The last UFC fight I watched was Strickland versus Dricus, I think back in February. I haven't watched the UFC thing since then, so I only watch the big fights. But another thing that I want to talk about, something I've always noticed and that I've been very impressed by, are how I see a lot of older guys that fight on the cards, and I'm like, my mind is blown by that. How some of these older dudes get into this octagon all the time and beat the crap out of each other. It's really amazing. Because whenever I do watch one of these big fights, I'll usually watch like the prelims and the, what do they call it, the undercards and all that stuff. The fight over the weekend, man, shout out to Tim Elliott, Michael Page, what's the guy's, Justin Cannonier. I mean, we're talking 38, and 41. And I'm like, man, that makes me feel young. I'm 38, still trying to stay in shape, still trying to do my thing, and, you know, it gives me confidence. But, you know, Tim Elliott, he went out there, beat a guy. Michael Page went out there and man, just and beat Justin Cannonier. But Justin Cannonier, 41. That dude's built like a brick shithouse. Maron. Man, oh man. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with those guys. And Tim Elliott and Michael Page, another thing that I'm so fascinated by, and once again, it's like, how can you get mad at anybody's style if it results in winning? I mean, you look at Tim Elliott, and they were you know, talking about how unorthodox of a fighter he is, his stance and how he moves, how kind of like awkward he is. And then Michael Page, I mean, what a unique style he has, like how he fights kind of like with his hands down the whole time, and he kind of just bobs and weaves and does that whole thing. It's so interesting to me. And to bring it back to Khamzat and specifically his style within that fight, like other potential opponents of his, you got to figure out how to combat that. Either like you have to really get on the level of wrestling that these guys from Chechnya and Dagestan and that whole area of the world, you got to get on that level so you can hang with those guys in that style of fighting. Or you have to figure out how to keep him on his feet and have, you know, look for a tell, look for a counter when he tries to bring you to the ground, which Dricus and his camp did not do at all. The other fight, what's his name? That Lerone Murphy, very impressed with that guy. Undefeated. I never heard of him. See, I told you guys, I'm a casual. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I never even heard of Lerone Murphy. The guy's 17-0. And then I wonder who should Khamzat fight next. I think I saw Dana White say that he wants a pretty quick turnaround for Khamzat because he hasn't really fought all that much. I mean, he's 31. He's only fought like 15 times. And I know when he blew up, it was during COVID. And then I think he got COVID. And then he was sick. And then he got like really, really sick. And then he was teased about retiring, and he was like all messed up for a while. But now he's obviously very much back. Maybe he'll fight in October in Abu Dhabi. But I wonder who he should fight. I always wish he would fight Sean Strickland. I think that would be really interesting. But you know, Sean he lost 2 times in a row to Dricus, who just lost to Khamzat. So, you know, Sean might have to, you know, win a couple big fights before he gets to fight Khamzat. But I think that would be a pretty entertaining fight. And I know they've grappled before. Sean has that unique, you know, what do they call it? The Philly shell kind of thing. And he stands straight up and down and kind of walks you down. Whereas Khamzat, you know, the guy's just like a maniac. He's all over the place. He's jumping on top of you. He's on the ground. And, you know, there's 2 very different styles. So, I think that would be an interesting match if that ever happens someday. Other than that, I really don't know who Khamzat would fight. I think there's some other guy in the middleweight with one of those Dagestan, Russia, Chechnya, whatever that area is with a name that I can't pronounce at all. Maybe he'll fight him, considering it's in Abu Dhabi. I don't know. Okay. Oh, God, that's enough. That's enough talking. All right. Goodbye.